It's important to know that this podcast does have spoilers for Avengers Endgame. Do not listen to this podcast unless you have seen Avengers Endgame.
I'm just a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Bitch, please, you've been to space.
This is the Buntarelli Show.
Coming right off the heels of the epic Avengers Endgame, smashing records globally, the follow-up to 2017 Spider-Man Homecoming, Tom Holland returns in Spider-Man Far From Home. First, I want to welcome back to the show, Khiim. How's it going?
Hey, I'm doing good. How you doing today, man?
Great. Also coming back, Matt. How you doing, buddy? Thanks for coming back.
It's a pleasure to be back.
First of all, kudos to the way they launched this trailer, with Tom Holland just explaining that there was Endgame spoilers, because even if you scroll down on Twitter or Facebook, it's like you see Tom Holland for 2 minutes before you see any trailer.
Yeah.
So you don't have that, like, the first thing you see scrolling your phone is Spider-Man crying over a picture of Iron Man. So that was smart, but it's kind of funny because this new Spider-Man, of course, we skipped the Uncle Ben thing. And I noticed the first thing off the bat watching it again was like, it's like Tony Stark is the new Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
It does almost feel like that.
Matt, what were your thoughts about the trailer at first seeing it?
I thought it looked really interesting. You know, it doesn't just gloss over all of like the Endgame stuff. It shows that like there is still the consequences of it. They're still dealing with it, trying to find like somebody to replace Iron Man, the new Iron Man.
Yeah.
Peter trying to step into that position.
Khiim?
Yeah, I agree. They definitely carried they carried over the weight from Endgame, you know. I was really nervous that they were going to just kind of do a complete, like you said, palate cleanse, like, you know, and just have like a complete fresh start with no consequences.
Yeah, like nothing happened.
Yeah, like nothing happened. I'm glad that we're seeing this come over into this movie, you know.
I noticed a change in Spider-Man's attitude. If you think of how he first came in Civil War, he's like, yeah. And then even Avengers, he's like, yeah, this is what I wanted. But now he's like, whoa, got real.
Yeah, he started off very naive.
Yeah.
Very naive, still childish. But yeah, he's definitely been woken up.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not, like, even his eagerness to take the vacation and go to himself. He doesn't want to get involved with Nick Fury. Like, and it's a natural progression of the character.
It does. It is. He's definitely more reclusive, pun intended.
There was another thing I noticed was when I watched it again was, if you think of where Far From Home, like, I was glad to see the Iron Spider costume. And here's why. Because obviously everybody's seen everything. But it's like, if you really think about it, it's really kind of still the sequel to Homecoming, even though there's been 2 movies in between. Where did you leave off on Homecoming? Tony, his relationship with Tony, him getting the Iron Spider suit.
Yeah.
So really, it kind of would have been a gif if we didn't get to see that suit in a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
Speaking of the suits, that was one thing I was going to bring up was we see him in at least 3 different suits in the trailer. We see the Iron Spider suit, the classic, like, normal suit, and the Spider-Man Noir suit.
And that's kind of Spider-Man's heritage too, because in the video games and everything, it's like, that's always a thing. Like, ooh, I want to unlock the Scarlet Spider costume or the Ben Reilly costume or the different. That's part of the Spider-Man deal.
Yeah,
is the costumes.
And I will say, like, initially, I was a little nervous seeing the Iron Spider suit, because to me, like, it's cool and all, but I feel like it kind of takes away from what Spider-Man is, the suit doing all the work. You know, with the whole insta kill kind of feature. You know, it kind of makes Spider-Man lazy. Like, I don't know. I'm just, me growing up, I've always been used to Spider-Man having spider senses, and he's able to slow down everything and see perceptives that we can't, you know? So I kind of felt like it was a little bit of it was a different take, but I was just nervous about it. So the fact that he does have 2 other suits, maybe we will be able to see natural ability.
I'm curious if he ditches that costume because I don't know, it reminds him of Tony, or just like the whole thing. I mean,
or maybe even just him wanting to come into his own and not be like, I'm not going to be Iron Man, but I will be Spider-Man.
Well, and I remember from the first trailer that, like, Aunt May or somebody sneaks that original Spider-Man costume in his suit.
Yeah.
And maybe that's it. And that's,
because he left the Iron Spider suit in New York. That's why, like, you can kind of see he only has it in what looks like the beginning of the movie. Like, all the scenes that are, like, over in Europe, he's not wearing it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's probably good. Like I said, it's cool to acknowledge the suit and show it. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see Iron Spider. In a
Yeah,
whole movie.
I wouldn't either.
It takes away from
From Spider-Man.
the naivety and just like the simpleness of the character.
Exactly.
It's too complex. For him.
Exactly.
Granted, it was awesome in Infinity War.
Yeah. And Infinity War, he needed it. You know, it was something that was way out of his league. But I think we're definitely seeing a more mature Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Where he's coming into his own.
You know, I kind of want to touch this because it kind of goes in what we're talking about. So I actually read up because I didn't know the specifics of the Sony Marvel deal. And so what it is this. And it was Kevin Feige, who I think it was Amy Pascal, who was running Sony, but he pitched to her, he said, and he was pushing for it for a while. So Sony finances the Spider-Man movie.
Okay.
Sony gets all the money from the Spider-Man movie. So they're paying the actors, they're budgeting and everything, but Marvel has creative control over the Spider-Man movie.
Really?
So like Kevin Feige oversees who's getting this, who's writing the script and everything else.
Yeah.
Marvel gets a cut of the toys. Now, Marvel gets the toys, but with the real win for Marvel was bringing Spider-Man into the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
They get to have Spider-Man. Now, when Spider-Man's in Infinity War, that's Marvel's movie.
Marvel's, okay.
Yeah. So they pay Tom Holland, they write the script and everything, but they get to do that. And in the beginning, it's like, is it that important? But when you think about the role Spider-Man played in Infinity War,
Yeah.
it was worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see how it's worth it in Marvel. I mean, he was a catalyst of Tony making his decisions in that movie.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, that was, and it's a cool deal. But now here's the other thing. So now the exciting part is this. Now Spider-Man was contracted for this current contract and the current deal with Sony was 3 Marvel movies, which he's knocked out already. 3 MCU movies, Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame.
Yeah.
So Marvel's done with him. Now, for Sony, it's 3 movies. Now here's the second movie, but now here's the interesting thing. It's still in Marvel's interest to make these movies dope because guess what? They want to do this again.
Yeah.
Re-up the contract.
Yeah, you can't just half-ass the third Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
Because, no, you want Sony making a lot of money. So they're like, all right, let's re-sign. Let's redo this. And I thought it was very interesting because the same way we had that epic Endgame, we could have an epic, like, awesome Spider-Man. Finally have an awesome Spider-Man trilogy.
Yeah.
Like a perfect just trilogy.
Yeah, and just the cooperation between those two mega houses, Sony and Marvel, that just shows so much inspiration for what's going forward in the whole, movie universe, really.
Nothing like it's ever been done before.
Yeah, nothing. It's always been mine. But if we can see a lot more collaborations between companies.
It said something. I mean, even as MCU, it's groundbreaking for what they've done. And, this deal was something. Now, Khiim, I know you watch Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched all of it, but Matt, are you familiar with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I know of it. I haven't actually watched
it.
Okay,
because here's I have one point, and it's been in the back of my head, and I'm sure it's been explained. It's like, what is Nick Fury's deal? Because if S.H.I.E.L.D. fell, I really watched like the half of the first episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Just to be honest.
Yeah.
Just to be honest, and just wasn't. I just kind of fell out of it and whatever. But what is is Nick Fury still S.H.I.E.L.D. or is it something else? Or
I mean, to be honest, from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they didn't really. I mean, I want to say I only got up to the 3rd episode. I know they've continued, or not 3rd episode, 3rd season. I know they've continued since, so they might have addressed it. Mm-hmm. But from what I've seen, they didn't really address Nick Fury that much. It was more so based on like Phil Coulson, and then the co-star Daisy. But I don't know. They go into depth with what happens between like Hydra doing the takeover and all that. Mm-hmm. And then they really focus in onto the Creed army, which was the alien invaders that were coming down from the first invasion that happened in New York.
Okay.
So they really just focus on those aspects and how, and I feel like they might pull from that to use it to maybe open up for X-Men. But as far as Nick Fury, I haven't seen anything that explains like what currently is going on in the universe. If he's still S.H.I.E.L.D. or is this post or,
Yeah, it just seems like it's business as usual.
Then you think about it, in Endgame, he made, Captain America made the notion, Hail Hydra. So it is after the fact that Hydra had already been discovered that they took over S.H.I.E.L.D. So.
Yeah, I'm just more or less like, what it just seems like Nick Fury has a lot of resources.
Himself, yeah, still.
And a lot of motivation, but it's like, who is he working for? Is he just doing it by himself? Like he's just taking it upon himself?
Yeah.
Or is he forming a new S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Well, now actually, I think there was a split in faction. That some of the S.H.I.E.L.D. did find out that Hydra was in there, and there was a split. Kind of. So I think he does still have some resources, even though Hydra had took over the majority.
Yeah, and also in the trailer you see Maria Hill is there too.
Yeah, that's why I was saying, and they're uniformed up and everything. So that's why I just wondered if there was something that I missed, but I guess it just.
I feel like it's probably like an offshoot from S.H.I.E.L.D. Like it's not actually part of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it's working separate.
And maybe
the remnants of them.
And maybe they're a little more underground because of how things went down. They're not going to have government support, and they're going to be. So maybe it's still. They're just operating on a different level.
Yeah,
and it's
private
still
sector.
S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
I was just curious about that because I was like, okay, Nick Fury bounced back from this fall of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing. He's like, well, I still got my car. I'm still got the benefits.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Mysterio. First of all, everybody flipping out because he's comic book accurate.
Yeah.
It just looks, which they didn't have to do. And they did it. It's like, wow.
And they made it
really good.
And they made it look really good, like you said, Matt. Yeah.
It doesn't just look like an idiot in a dome.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah.
No, he looks really good. He looks good with the dome off and just like shaking Spider-Man's hand and stuff.
Yeah.
Now here's the so they're opening up. The biggest part that just they're opening up is this dimension thing.
Yeah.
Because the tear through space and everything.
Yeah, and it gives him a reason for Mysterio to be a good guy, because normally in the comics he's a villain. And also he doesn't have powers.
Well, what I'm curious about is, because Mysterio's known for doing his like holograms and his thing.
Mm-hmm.
So my theory about Mysterio is, if he's from another dimension, was he a criminal in his other dimension and he came over here and he's just like, is Mysterio full of BS? Is he creating these monsters to look like a superhero?
Yeah.
To fill the gap and just kind of taking advantage of the void left by Iron Man and everything. And that's why Spider-Man's under his wing and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought one cool twist they could do, which sounds far-fetched, but nothing's far-fetched now. If he is from another dimension, you could even show him getting defeated by the Spider-Man in that dimension, and it could be Toby or Andrew, and you could really blow people's minds.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Oh, yeah, that'd be crazy.
Those are Sony movies, so there's not a lot of stuff to sign. You know what I mean? If everybody
definitely.
Fist bumps and is cool with that, you could do it and have an alternate version. They've hinted they could do Miles in the Spider-Verse thing, but that's a little weird because Sony is kind of doing their cartoon Spider-Verse, which was a big success.
Yeah, phenomenal.
So is Sony going to be down, even though Sony's getting the money no matter what? So I don't know. But do you still want to, do a parallel storyline?
Yeah, parallel storyline from,
I'd love to see a movie of Miles Morales, but I just love that cartoon Miles Morales so much. I want to see more of that.
Yeah, I don't want them to go away from that at all.
Here's an interesting thing that just popped up. I didn't know this too, because I was doing a lot of research of this Sony thing. For Spider-Verse, they had an idea of using Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield to voice two Spider-Men.
Hey, they should have.
They should have. I think because they were like, we're going to make this a little too confusing with the Miles thing. A Spider-Man died in his universe. Wow. Now I'm just thinking about it right there. There were two Spider-Men. So
yeah, they could have.
Toby could have died and Andrew could have been the other one or switched it around.
Yeah.
But yeah, they bailed on that. Now that I'm thinking about it, I wish they did it.
Yeah, I wish they would have had. I didn't even know about that.
That's still available for the sequel.
Yeah, I mean,
that's true.
or if they do it in this MCU thing. But it would be because both of those Spider-Mans, for their own rights, I mean,
they held it down.
They held it down. The first one, like I said, the third movie was just not. It was poorly executed, and
but it had nothing to do with Garfield himself portraying Spider-Man. I wouldn't say it's just
Maguire.
bad, right? Oh, Maguire,
the Sam Raimi one, the third one,
the third one, and then the second one from Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield's was the exact same as the third one from Toby. It's
exactly.
Like, let's just throw in the kitchen sink and everything. Like it fizzled out. And even when I saw the Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, because me and my nephews like went there and we came out of the theater like that was good. Like because it was different. Even,
it was
like, his different costume. And it was like, okay, they're taking a fresh approach on it. It was cool.
Yeah, I liked Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. I didn't have any gripes with either one of them.
Speaking of continuing storylines from Homecoming, you have that Happy and Parker relationship. You remember in Homecoming how Happy was like, all right, this kid's bothering me kind of thing and saves it at the end. But then the one thing they've both been through together is this loss of Tony.
Yeah.
And, Happy... Jon Favreau's been playing Happy Hogan for 10 years, as long as Tony Stark was Iron Man. Robert Downey was playing Iron Man.
From the beginning.
He wrote and directed the first Iron Man. So he is responsible...
Basically for the whole MCU kind of...
Yeah, the birth of it,
for launching it. Because, like, Spider-Man and the X-Men were gone.
Yeah, now, if that Iron Man movie had bombed, we wouldn't be
None of this would happen.
This right now.
No, not at all.
Iron Man happened, and they were like... I think we're on to something here.
Yeah.
Because if you remember, it wasn't like they just started doing Captain. It was after Iron Man 2, they really started getting their momentum and saying, okay, let's do Captain America. Let's do Thor. Yeah. And if you think when it first came out, it was took them a while to polish it up too.
Yeah.
And get it really, really cohesive, which is why it was so perfect. But, the different, like Happy and Parker both share that loss of Tony. So it kind of changes the dynamic of their relationship.
Yeah, it does.
I'm kind of curious of, like, even Happy saying things like, you don't ghost Nick Fury, things like that. It's like, where is, like I said, like we said, this was the finale to this. Now I understand it. Why this is the finale to phase
3.
Phase 3. This is the finale to phase 3. Now I get it, because you're showing, here's what the world is like.
The aftermath.
Here's the ramifications. What's all the questions we have, we're probably going to find out.
Yeah.
Plus, we got Nick Fury to explain things to us.
Yeah, he'll come in his great exposition.
But now I'm curious is, so Happy's there. What is the legacy of Tony Stark?
Yeah.
What is, like, what I'm saying is, why is Happy so involved? Okay, the same way Tony left that message for his family, kind of like the epilogue to Endgame. Is there a Tony message, even if they don't show you? Because Tony left that message saying, like, I might die.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if I die, I pulled it off. Here's my message. Could he have left, even if you don't see it or hear it, could Robert Downey have filmed something? But could there have been something where he said to Happy, if I pull this off and don't make it, watch the kid?
Yeah.
That'd be kind of,
I kind of feel like almost like there didn't even have to be like, Happy kind of took it on himself to watch him because he knew that Tony had been keeping an eye on him. He's like, well, you would want me to do this if you didn't make it.
Yeah, because he knew that, like us, and probably even the conversations with us, even the things unsaid.
Yeah, the things we didn't see, to say.
Yeah, but in Endgame, he picks up that picture of him and Peter, and that's really what gets the wheels turning.
Yeah.
And even from like I said, the unsaid things, like even Pepper, the way she was with Spider-Man. When Iron Man died, it was like his family was around him, and that was War Machine, Pepper, and Spider-Man, Peter. They were all that circle, and they all said his things. Like, that's what made that scene, like, I'm glad you had Cap and Thor just kind of onlooking, which was cool. It's like the big two, but like have his closer circle.
Yeah.
For his death, which was really made it cool.
Yeah.
Like War Machine's like, you good, man? You okay? It's just, I love that scene.
Yeah, they did that scene well. Just like the different levels of connection to Iron Man.
So here's a possibility, and it's been floating around the internet. So Spider-Man's best buddy is Ned.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, it's been revealed somewhere, I think either in the IMDb or something, but it's Ned Leeds. In the comics, Ned Leeds is the Hobgoblin.
Really?
Yes. Whether they're going to go that road is yet to be seen. Now, if you think about the character change, it's a little bit of a jump. Would have said that. But now here's the thing. You've had this big dramatic thing happen to the whole world.
Yeah.
This really could mess up Ned.
And that's something I said on our Endgame show is that I wanted to see psychological wear on some of the characters from this snap.
Yeah.
You know, like some kind of PTSD that's messing with them, like, you know?
And that could, it could affect a lot of people. There could be counseling and stuff. There could be showing, but Ned's an interesting mix because Ned is not only, the whole world went through the snap, but Ned's been exposed to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Ned's been exposed to Iron Man. Ned, even when this movie takes place, it's going to be when they're in Europe. And it doesn't look like it's going to be, they've learned, like, okay, we can't rescue Mary Jane every movie like 10 times.
Yeah.
But his friends are there, and it's like, it puts Ned, you see how Mysterio's kind of getting in Spider-Man's head. If Mysterio is bad, well, I'm pretty sure, but with that same thing with Ned. Maybe Ned's an onlooker, and he's like, oh, Mysterio, this and that. And Mysterio gets in his head.
Yeah.
There's a couple things going on with that. First of all, I still don't think we could do Green Goblin again. I think we're all Green Goblin burnt, but Hobgoblin.
You can kind of put Ned in the place of where, like, Harry Osborn would be.
Mm-hmm.
They're the best friends, and then something happens, and he kind of goes off on the darker path, so to say.
Yeah, like
this one you could transition him instead of going to the Green Goblin route, pick up some other things, and he can end up being the Hobgoblin, like you were saying.
Yeah, and it would be more of a shocker because they haven't been building towards that.
Yeah, at all.
Kind of come from left field, but I just don't think we want to look at another Green Goblin.
Yeah,
I maybe because they try to rush it again in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah,
but maybe that road's been a little burnt.
Mm-hmm. I think they just did it so well the first time. It doesn't need to be done again.
Oh yeah, and that Green Goblin was great.
Yeah.
And that thing was, if had they done that first trilogy right, and like the way the third movie, I've said this like on like 10 shows.
Yeah.
But the way the third movie should have went was this. This is my theory. Should have been, they should not have had Venom. They should have had. My thing was the perfect movie would have been the Lizard and Harry, Green Goblin. The reason being, but not the Lizard that's trying to like blow up the world and make this building thing. There's different iterations of the Lizard.
Yeah.
But there's
primal version.
Yes, the more primal version being this. That way, you have something different to look at. You have a villain you've never seen before, but it could be Harry's story.
Yeah.
Because that Sam Raimi trilogy should have been the Spider-Man Harry story.
Yeah.
Which it kind of was, but the third movie was just...
They kind of broke away from that, yeah.
And the Harry thing was just so not developed right because of everything else going on.
Kind of got lost.
Everywhere. Going kind of back to the Osborn thing,
Mm-hmm.
what I would like to say is if we do see Norman Osborn
Mm-hmm.
in the MCU, I'd kind of like to see him step in with the Dark Avengers and add that as maybe like something for the Avengers to face in like further movies, because I think that would be a good place to come in, because not a lot of people know that.
Yeah, I know how he took a lead, and he was, if they wanted to do Norman having more of his presence of that, because sometimes Norman has that Lex Luthor kind of thing going on, even when he's not in the Goblin outfit.
Yeah, and also when he's in the Dark Avengers, he comes in as the Iron Patriot.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a really interesting one if he tried to step in and take Iron Man's place, and that's when he forms the Dark Avengers. I think that could be a good stepping off point for, and maybe like Mysterio ends up joining that team because something happens in Far From Home, and he ends up on the wrong side of things.
Yeah.
Well, before Marvel got involved, Sony was going to do the Sinister Six thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the flaw of Amazing Spider-Man 2, because they're trying to set up. They're like, let's build a universe. Nobody's mastered the magic that Marvel has. The shame of it is DC, because like I love that Henry Cavill Superman.
Yeah.
I wished it would have went differently.
Yeah, definitely.
And it just and now DC's doing their own thing. They're kind of just like throwing spaghetti at the wall and trying whatever they want, which could be interesting. Like that Joker movie looks interesting.
Yeah, it does. How do you feel about the I'm hoping that in this movie I know we're tired of seeing Mary Jane get saved a million times or so to say, but I'm wondering if they'll build more in this relationship in this one, because so far she doesn't really have any weight, to me at least. You know, there's not much weight on their relationship other than it's kind of this awkward teenage, I like you, do you like me, I don't know. And Mary Jane's always been like a very that's always kind of what anchored Spider-Man,
And well, here's the weird thing, because the first movie was about his romance with Liz.
Yeah.
And that obviously didn't go anywhere. And then MJ was like the surprise at the end.
Yeah.
So you got to see her and see her personality. I think her personality is cool. It's refreshing. I think the one thing I do notice is she seems to have chemistry with Tom.
Yeah.
As far as actor,
Zendaya does a really good job portraying that character.
Yeah.
So it's also the lightheartedness of the crush is more of, I think the message they're bringing us this time is like, not so much about the romance, but more of like, oh, Peter just wants to be a kid and have his girlfriend, and you're following this romance. I don't think it's big. I think they're equating that side more with just the normal kid stuff, which is good.
Yeah.
And now she says a line in the trailer, "Oh, you're Spider-Man." It's kind of, it's kind of funny because the way she delivers it, it's really like she would.
Yeah. You're Spider-Man. It's obvious.
And it would be kind of obvious because they were in Washington and Spider-Man saved him, and now they're in, Europe, and he just happens to be there. Which, something interesting about that, which might come into the Mysterio thing. So Spider-Man's going on this vacation in Europe, and he's trying to avoid Nick Fury. Nick Fury catches up with him in Europe.
Yeah. Shows up.
With Mysterio. So there's two sides to this, because did Mysterio manipulate this whole thing to happen? Like, is Spider-Man part of his plan? But the other thing is, how would Nick Fury miss something like that? But Nick Fury, I guess, could be fooled. He was working for Hydra for 10 years, so
yeah.
It's just an interesting thought that everything just kind of came together in Europe like that.
Yeah, but how?
So I read an interesting article. Couple interesting articles when I was the writers were addressing the absence of the Daily Bugle.
Yeah.
And they said something like, well, in this day and age, with everybody having camera phones, how are you going to do that? Who's getting that rare picture of Spider-Man?
Yeah.
I mean, he's in YouTube when Iron Man finds him.
Yeah.
And then the writer said something to the effect of, at the end, it caught me. They were like, we might have something we're thinking about doing, but it would be a spoiler. Yeah. And I'm thinking, well, how's it something you're thinking about doing if it's a spoiler? It means you're doing it.
You've done it already, yeah.
So I have an interesting theory. I was just like, so how do you work this in today's time? So, that's the name I want to look. Who's the host of TMZ? I thought if you could do like a TMZ type of TV show.
It's J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, and Jameson is the host.
That'd be good.
And just Parker just gets the best HD videos or something like that. And maybe even see him on the show. He goes, who got some Spider-Man stuff? And he still has the same twist where he's trying to make him look bad or everything, just to modernize the story.
Yeah. The host of TMZ is Harvey Levin.
Okay, thank you, Harvey. Yeah. So you make Jonah like a Harvey Levin kind of character. And he still has the anti-Spider-Man thing or something, but that would just be something cool.
But they're just looking at YouTube videos of Spider-Man, just doing random stuff.
Yeah, you just see I heard Spider-Man was fighting Mysterio. Oh, yeah, what do you got? And they show the whole wacky.
I hear Spider-Man was drunk at a pub last night. Here's a video we caught from a viewer.
Yeah, we tried to talk to Spider-Man outside.
A drunk dude with a beard got stumbling around in Spider-Man costume. Oh, that's Spider-Man. He's a menace.
Okay, so with this dimension stuff and a lot of things going on, because everybody's trying to picture how the X-Men getting folded in.
Yeah.
But and the way I feel too, and maybe everybody kind of feels that way, but the consensus is I'm not that anxious because they planned everything so well. I don't want them to mess up the plan. Because guess what happens when you mess up the plan? You get things like, Star Wars dropping the ball and fumbling and stuff. I was thinking about that. It's like, if you try, when Star Wars first got, and it's not about which Star Wars was the better one or this or that. It's more or less when Disney got their hands on Star Wars, and it's, Disney's doing a Marvel thing. So
Yeah.
you can't. But just a mistake on that level was where Star Wars said, George Lucas leaves Kathleen Kennedy in charge of Star Wars. She says it's in good hands with her. I trust her. And then Disney comes out and says, okay, we got this plan. We're going to do a Star Wars movie every year. We're going to do an episodic one and then a standalone episodic one. Hey, let's all get excited and everything.
Yeah.
And they just decided they were going to do that before they made this trilogy without an overarching plan. You go back and forth in the whole thing, but what it comes down to is I don't want them to all of a sudden just crowbar the X-Men in and blow it out of to get the X-Men in.
Yeah.
The more I think about it, the more it makes sense. I don't want them to do it if they can't do it right.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
don't want them to rush in. You want them to take their time.
And then we get this Wolverine we're not happy with, and
Yeah.
we're stuck with him,
Yeah.
or we don't like the way they did it. But I did see some interesting theories about the X-Men. And one of them was, I want to make sure I give credit where it was due. I think it was Screen Rant. They had an interesting X-Men theory, and I kind of liked it. But they said, what if the X-Men were a result of the snap? But like this. Okay, so you make Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were mutants in the MCU.
Yeah.
Because you never said an origin story for them. Even though you never said the word mutant, you never had it. But they were kind of exposed to the mind.
Experimentation.
And the whichever stone was in the scepter. The scepter was by them.
that was the Mind Stone, wasn't it?
So the Mind Stone, what they're saying is everybody have a recessed mutant gene, and there was some radiation from the snap that woke it up. The cool thing about that idea is, and what they said was, because here's the thing about the comics, it's like, well, how do you hate mutants, but you like Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Like, how do you know the difference?
Yeah.
How do you know what happened to Spider-Man? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
And see, now to touch on that, that's kind of going back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They kind of touched on that with the whole Creed army coming down. There was basically like radiation like rocks that kind of went everywhere or whatever, some kind of thing like that, to where normal people were getting affected and having powers.
okay, so it has been opened
Yeah,
up.
so they have opened that door for the possibility of mutants coming along in that way.
But, and what they said was the reason why people would resent the mutants is because, now think about everybody's life, no matter who you are, has been turned upside down by these snaps. So you would resent the mutants because they're like the last reminder of what happened. And that would kind of, the only problem again with that is you can't have your 100-year-old Wolverine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless he was just hiding somewhere, or, mutants have been, he could be the mutant that's been around.
Yeah.
So now it makes a little more sense.
Or even with this whole dimension stuff that's going on,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because even in the comics, when it comes to Wolverine,
Mm-hmm.
like he did stay in the background for most of it. He didn't like really step up until the X-Men showed up. Like in the comics, he was part of the
You're right. An
army
X-Men.
group that was Captain America, the ones that stormed.
But even
Normandy, his Black Ops.
Yeah, he was
Basically.
the Howling Commandos.
Yeah.
in the original X-Men movie, he had the powers. He just wasn't doing anything. He was just wrestling some guys in a cage.
Yeah.
So maybe you could have him part of the Captain America thing, and they just never knew. Like he never exposed his claws or something like that. But yeah, he could. Yes, he could have been around. Mutants could have been around. Now, the more you think about it,
Yeah.
it's
It's just a weird notion. They never mentioned it.
yeah, but maybe like I said, like maybe rare.
Yeah.
Maybe very rare and then now more prevalent
Yeah.
because of the things that happened.
Maybe like an outbreak type situation.
Going back to the Spider-Man, there was one thing that I did want to like talk about was maybe the fact that he's in like the Spider-Man Noir costume shows up. I wonder if we're going to see another like alternate Spider-Man show up at some point, or if it's just
If they do the dimensional stuff.
yeah, like if that actually is Spider-Man from a different dimension, or if it's just Tom Holland in the same suit. Because they don't really.
That is true. You don't see him
they
take the
don't show
mask
that suit
off.
with the mask off, so it could technically be somebody else.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that would just be an interesting thing to do, but I don't
Definitely.
know if they want to get all mixed up with that right now.
Yeah. And
They're
yeah.
opening the doors. But the really cool thing about this Spider-Man, first of all, we were all excited about just him being in the MCU. Remember, we saw that first glimpse of him in that Civil War trailer where he grabs Cap's shield and jumps in the car and goes, "Hey guys," and everyone's like, "Yeah!" And then they show him as the kid, and we're like, "Yeah, we're down with the kid." We love this Spider-Man, and I love any Spider-Man movie. Like, I would have just been happy seeing a Spider-Man movie, without so much of this MCU stuff. Not saying no, I love the MCU. I'm saying the MCU stuff is a bonus, but at the core, you know, the things they've been hinting is the ramifications of the MCU and stuff. But really, at the core, this is Spider-Man's second movie, and then he's got his third one coming up. So now we're getting back into this Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited about, we're forgetting, where's the Spider-Man storyline going?
Yeah.
If you think about it, you really don't know. You don't know what the catalyst is and what the whole Mysterio thing going on is. And because they have so much to give you in these trailers about the MCU, it's kind of better.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going into this movie not knowing a lot about what's going to happen to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what they're going to do, but then at the same time you don't, because you know they're going to conclude the MCU, but how's his personal story going forward?
Yeah, his story's going to go on, and it's going to have to be this strong trilogy.
And at this point, it's strayed far enough from the comics that, like, anything can go, basically, at this point. Nobody has any idea what's going on.
Oh,
it's all completely new.
And then here's the other possibility. If they, I don't know if they're going to touch on the Sinister Six thing or not, but if they are, you've got a Vulture.
Yeah.
Vulture. Michael Keaton is in the IMDb.
Is he?
He and Liz are. Now that's weird because they said he's not going to be in there, but you can say whatever you want.
There might be like flashbacks or something.
IMDb's funny. IMDb don't lie. Like IMDb, like for some, you know, like they technically had to put the cast out. Like even the Sorcerer Supreme was in the IMDb for Endgame.
Okay, and that was
long before maybe even the first trailer. Like for some reason, IMDb just they get that information and they have, you know.
Bring up the Sorcerer reminds me of something else I wanted to bring up. In the trailer, Mysterio's powers kind of remind me of Doctor Strange's if you look at them, like the patterns on them and the color of them.
Yeah.
So I wonder if maybe from the other universe that he's from, if he actually is, like if he's a sorcerer over there, or if he's just trying to like emulate it.
It's a very showy costume.
Yeah.
Very gaudy costume.
Like, it's gaudy. Perfect. It's gaudy. Like he's really trying to dress like a superhero.
Yeah, he's
like
making a statement.
He wants a presence.
Yeah.
You know, even the fishbowl and everything, it kind of works because he's really, and it'll probably work more when we get a storyline.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. All the big stuff aside, this Spider-Man and this Mysterio, like very excited about that.
In fact, they have Gyllenhaal playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that came out of left field. He looks good. You know, I like that he's sitting having a conversation. It's reminiscent of like the Spider-Man Doc Ock stuff that was going on in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
But as far as like a Sinister Six, you have a Vulture, you have a Mysterio, you have Matt Gargan, they showed him, who would become the Scorpion. So that's 3. So it's 3 to go.
Matt Gargan could also be Venom. He was Venom at one point in the comics too.
Oh, he was. Yeah, they're not going to touch Venom though because of the. That'll really make Sony mad. You know, you don't want to mess up with Sony.
Yeah,
but
that'd be 3 Venoms we've seen now. Come on.
We're already getting to.
So it only makes sense.
We're getting used to our third Spider-Man. But yeah, like I said, really excited to see this movie and really excited to do the review for it. So guys, once again, thanks for being here, and we'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
See you guys.